Hello. I am talking. Can you hear me? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the European Masters Ultimate Club Championships. You join me, and we are watching the mixed division. We are watching Hucks Ultimate Club Berlin versus RJP in the mixed division. Mixed division is around 9 teams, and both teams coming out of a pool. Hucks are in Pool C. Hucks coming away with a win this morning, winning against Maramosa 13-7. RJP taking a loss against Maramosa 14-7. So based on previous experience in their previous games, you would say that Hucks potentially coming out with an advantage. But we will see how this game goes moving forward. As we see teams getting into position, ready to start their campaign to top this pool. I think based on the kit, RJP are in that bright blue green kind of blended colour, and Hucks are in the white. So once we get a clear look, we can see who's starting on offence, who's starting on defence. This is the Masters mixed division. So a little bit of a strange thing here with age. In the mixed division, you have both female matching players and male matching players, with the age of the female matching players being those turning 30 in the year of the tournament and above. So there might be some 29-year-olds on here, but there will be predominantly 30 and above. And then in the mixed division with the male matching players, they are 33 or above. So there is a little bit of a difference in age. The women are slightly younger, with the men being a little bit older. But we are underway, and Hucks are out on defense with RJP in offense, and we are underway now. RJP coming out kind of like a 2-5, finding it down the sideline. Looking to go deep. Gets it down the line. Some fancy feet. There is a hero matching player deep, and they put it to them. But the defender of RJP, of Hucks, able to get in front. And just a quick drop. RJP, another opportunity now to get their score on the board to kick this game off. Walking slowly to the disc. And throws a big IO, but brilliantly intercepted. Good heads-up defense by Hucks. Looking for an option, but it's not coming. Throws the disc to the break side. Fakes a big huck, but doesn't come. Pushes the disc to the middle, working it through the female matching player there. Big disc goes up as we see the deep strike going, and it's just dropped in the red zone. RJP now walking slowly back to the disc, having to go all the way up from the other end zone, hoping to get the score. RJP now kind of coming out in a bit of a hoe stack. IO break side, tries to do a dishy little backhand, doesn't get it, goes back. Again, another IO, really well handled. Bladey flick, straight down the middle. See the player in the end zone gesturing, but they're not free enough. RJP, bit of a bailout. And fantastically caught in, toes and everything. Big blade over the top. There's not a lot of wind and a fantastic high grab. And there's another hammer to the free player, and that's RJP's goal. First goal of the game. It's 1-0. That was Ponzanski with the goal. Nikitowicz with the assist. 1-0 in this opening game of this pool. Hucks having a slightly larger roster, but only by 4. RJP playing through a slightly smaller one. But 1-0. So let's see what this Hucks O-line can do, whether they can confidently slot it in a little bit more clean. That was quite a long point. 3 minutes 10, which for a first point is quite a long one. But Hucks out on offense now. An opportunity to switch lines and see what they can do. As we await the pull. And here it goes. Straying straight through the middle. Picked up by Hucks, centering and straight back to the centre handler. Finds a very free player in the middle. Dish over to the sideline, and Huck immediately goes up. That is sitting perfectly. Defender has got no choice but to just keep running straight in the hope that it's a mis-execution, but it wasn't. That was a fantastic shot. And as we said, Huck's able to get a score in nice and quickly to take us to 1-1 in this pool game in the Masters Mixed Division at the European Championships. That was Jens Spielberg with the assist and Kim Gitsen with the goal. In the mixed division, you will see that the gender balance does change. So we do a thing called ABBA or ABBA, where you pick a number of female matching players to start with, whether that is 3 female matching players or 4, and that would be your A. And then for the subsequent B and B, it would be 4 male matching players, 4 male matching players, then back to 4 female matching players, and the cycle continues. ABBA, ABBA. That way, you're making sure that there is always a fair split of gender, and both genders are being able to play around the same amount. And that also changes the pull. So the team that is starting on defense will have to do a female matching puller if there are 4 female matching players on the field. And that is what we are seeing here now as a disc goes up. A really great pull. There's no wind, an amazing opportunity for people to show their arm. But RJP catch it, and they are now in flow. An immediate deep going, but not received. Big bobble, but nothing called. Not sure if it was a catch or recatch. And there is the Huck trailing to that side, and it is caught. RJP follow up. Huck's clean offense with a clean offense of their own. All going to play at the moment in the game. Pazianska with the fantastic goal, but Monika Kazałowska with that fantastic throw to her teammate in the number 5 shirt. I really like the way that Dazkauswa was kind of able to make it almost unguardable for her teammate's defender. She put it in a position where her receiver had an amazing kind of read on the disc, and the defender had to make a choice whether to go up early or to keep tracking it, and it paid off. As we hear the whistle go to suggest that the time for team to set up is over, and we see a big flick pull going up, and it's sailing for miles. Stays in bound. That is picture perfect. RJP a little bit slow to get up there. A couple of passes managing to get out. Hucks comfortable. Disc back into the middle of the pitch now. Free player on the flick side takes it. Dishes backfield to the handler. And there is the deep throw. Taken in by Hucks. A little bit of discrepancy about whether that was in or not, but I think they have now called it in. So that is another beautiful hold from Hucks, which takes us to 2-2. Hubert with the assist to Gateson in the end zone. Gateson with her second goal. That's 2 for 2 for them. Sometimes quite nerve-wracking in an early game of a tournament. This is only the first day when you are trading, because it feels like something's got to give. You're almost waiting for either your team to step up a notch and start pushing forward and taking the win, or you're waiting for the other team to have a lapse in concentration. So it's going to be interesting to see here as we trade it out 2-2 which one it is, whether one team has a lapse in concentration and the other team is able to capitalize on a break, or whether one team finds a big gust of energy and is able to push the other team into a position that makes them feel uncomfortable. But the disc will be in the air shortly as we begin this next point with RJP on offense. Centering pass, taken and caught back. Oh, a little bobble through the middle. Looking backfield. Again, through the middle, just kind of working it through the handlers at the moment. Free player, lovely big gainer, as we see another big gainer, but it's a drop. And a D as well on the other end of it. There was a trip there. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a call, but unfortunately RJP just not able to keep it in their hands, which means Hucks have got the opportunity to get that break, and potentially that was that lapse of concentration that we were looking for. Hucks now looking a bit stuck, but finds it in the handler space. You can see them sort of looking deep, finds the player on the break side and aggressively attacks through the middle. RJP just struggling to keep up with Huck's quick movement. Right onto the end zone line now. And it is caught. That is the first break of the game, first blood as we call it. That is 3-2 to Huck's favour. It was Ben Thomas to Florian Arfot with the goal. Just a little bit of a lapse of concentration for RJP there, as we said. I don't think it was necessarily the wrong option. There was a bit of a stumble, which potentially put off the receiver, thinking, oh, is this going to be a call? What have I got to say? And you could see them just bouncing out of their hands. Sometimes it happens. Frisbee is as much of a mind game as it is a game with your legs. But Huck's going to be thankful that they've got that first break on the board. Gives a little bit of extra confidence to players when they know that they have the advantage now. Hear the whistle go. Saying to players it's time to play. So we see Hucks coming out on defense, hoping to get their next break on the board. Big pull going up, sitting nicely. Lands out. So that is an OB pull, meaning that players will be able to take the disc from the centre of the pitch, notified by that little white dot in your screen there. You see 2 cones on either side of it, signifying that that is the allocated space for a brick. Lots of discussion in Ultimate as to whether it's better to have a brick or whether it's better to have a slightly shorter pull that means that the disc is inbounds, but something to debate for a later time, as we see RJP hoping to get their offensive score in. Free player on the open side was sagged off. A divisive cut down the middle and straight into the hands. You heard the clap of that. Over the top. Player is free and just out the hands. Fantastic bid. Really love that cut, being able to push the disc back middle field and then try and get it back. A little bit too far, but a fantastic layout attempt. As we see Hucks now pushing the disc to that far sideline. Will they huck it for the goal? The deep strike is on, but they don't want it. Not looking happy to go backfield just yet. And there is the Hucks turnover. RJP now with another opportunity. As we see the slow walk to the disc. RJP setting up of what looks like a sort of 3-1 to the very free player in the middle. Fantastic little IO. And a brilliant cut and a score. Love that. That was a really good passage of play from RJP, especially after a couple of turnovers. That was Monika Zazowska with the goal, with the assist, sorry, and Jared Klein with the goal. That's Kazowska's second assist of this game. Kazkowska clearly someone having a massive impact on the tournament so far. Someone to look out for. That is 3-3, so back on serve in sense of the score, but with that break, Hucks do have the advantage now coming out on offense. It's interesting, I don't think that RJP's offensive set necessarily has a lot of structure, but there's clearly a lot of trust in their players. They're playing out of quite a loose 3-4, sometimes looking a little bit more 2-5-y, classic vert stack, but they're just kind of able to take what they're given rather than playing through a very structured set. So we'll see what this Hucks O-line looks like, whether they're going to go for that more organic look or whether they're going for something more structured. It's looking like a 3-4, but RJP doing a little bit of a saggy kind of zone, encouraging Hucks to slow down and potentially take away their Hucks. It's very front heavy zone with a little bit of an assassin on one of the handlers, making it really difficult for Hucks. They're finding a beautiful little window on that sideline and another window. They could play tiki-taka all the way, but recognises that it's time to stop. Little dishy backhand over, a dishy backhand through the middle, straight back, and just there's that lapse of communication that we spoke about earlier, and there's the turnover. Even though those two players seemingly were making eyes, the receiver didn't think that disc was for them. RJP, opportunity to get that break back and bring this game on serve. Open side throw back to the handler, a little pop play over the top. There's defense there. They get a fingertip and it is a D, but you can see a little bit of uncertainty on whether it was a foul. Foul is called. From my opinion, I don't think potentially that had as much impact as the RJP player potentially thought. However, we have only got a small view here, so can't say myself, but as you can see that the foul, I believe, is uncontested, which means it stays in the hands of RJP. Meaning that RJP do have this opportunity to get the break back. It still remains. Faking flick doesn't go. Faking flick again doesn't go. And a big blade over. Nearly caught, but Hucks managed to take it. As we see a little bit of tiki-taka. And the big Huck goes up to the receiver, streaking deep, who is cutting diagonally. But the disc never came back in from where it left the pitch. Meaning that potentially RJP have got an opportunity here to take the disc from all the way back to where Hucks last had it. The slow walk as to where the disc is going to be coming back in, from my perspective, but there might be some discussion as to where it is actually coming in. It's all the way up there. I'm surprised at that, but again, I don't have the perfect view. As we see RJP now with the opportunity to get their break on the board. Turning into quite a long point with a good few turnovers. RJP looking a little bit stuck, but finds a relief valve in the handler. Straight back to the player who just dished it off. Back to the handler. Lovely, creative little flick, Io, but just a little bit too far out in front, not able to kind of keep his hands on it. Hucks will be pleased to have that turnover, not necessarily forced by their defense, but a mistake all the same. Here, the man call, meaning that it's match defense. Back into the middle for Hucks. There's a very free handler. No deep strikes coming as of yet. Hucks doing a really good job of kind of showing them how to play in the small spaces and being confident to take the disc backwards. It's a big gap in the middle there, but doesn't take it. Decides to do a creative little backhand over the top, and there is the Huck going down, and it is a goal for Hucks. That takes them on serve still 4-3, with Hucks having the advantage with that earlier break. It's Kim Gitsen. That is her third stat on the board. A very important player to this team, it may seem. And I do believe there was a timeout called there. I heard it coming through my speakers. So with that timeout called, we're just going to take a little bit of a quick timeout too, and we'll be right back with you shortly. Welcome back to the European Masters Ultimate Club Championships. I'm Amelia Durbin, and I am here joining you for this pool game in the mixed division against Hucks Ultimate Club from Germany against RJP from Poland. We've got about 30 seconds left of this timeout, which means that the game will be underway shortly, as on the other side of the pitch we see some ultimate happening. Unsure who that is, but they look like they're having a lovely time. We see teams getting into position now, ready to start. There, next play we have got Hucks coming out on defense after scoring their goal, with RJP coming out on offense. The game is still really, really close, with 4-4 being the score. As we see the Huck going up, the pull going up, sorry, and RJP are now underway. Close defensive pressure from Hucks. You can tell they really want to get that second break. Little dish off, keeps pushing. Fakes that flick to the free player. Not looking like there's many options, but a beautiful little stutter cut from her receiver there. Down the sideline. And there is the lead. And it is a goal. That is 4-4. Kinga with the goal there, and Tomskia with the assist. You can hear in the camera that maybe the wind is picking up a little bit. I know that there was gusts of 12 miles per hour, which doesn't feel like a lot in the standard Frisbee tournament, but when this morning's games were nothing, not even a lick of wind, even the tiniest little bit of wind can make players feel a little bit uncomfortable. However, I don't think we're seeing much of that in this game. I think both teams playing really, really well, and it's a testament to the fact that we've had 8 points and only one of them has been a break. O-lines are kind of able to play quite conservatively and quite well, and clearly showing a bit of dominance The Masters division, obviously, you'd assume has players who are very experienced in it, being the Masters division. Age doesn't necessarily equate to experience, however, that is the assumption. So these players know how to handle the pressure and they won't feel too alien in this early training part of the game. We've got another opportunity to look at the Hucks O-line now as the pull goes up. Hucks playing a little bit of tiki-taka with the handlers, quick passes, but not making a lot of ground. As a lofty high one goes up, but really well caught. I think it's a bit of an FM call by RJP. You can hear the away, home calls, showing the mark where to be, and a quick over the top. Did they catch it? Yes, they did. That was a fantastic quick passage of offense from Hucks with a really brilliant catch. That was Lizzie Gresha with the assist and Kim Gitsen with the goal. They are putting their name on the board. The 64 shirt of Kim Gitsen, that is their third point, and first assist. So they've had 4 stats again, which for only 5 points scored for Hucks is quite an achievement. So shout out to them for performing in this streamed game. There's lots more games coming to you this way over the weekend with the finals, semi-finals, bronze medal matches, the crossovers tomorrow, all coming up. So if you have a free weekend and you're wanting to watch more Ultimate, then stay around because there's a lot more coming your way. We're about 23 minutes into this game and there will be an allocated time half at 35 minutes if we don't reach it. Games are of course 2:15, meaning that we take a timeout at half at 8 where players switch end and offensive defensive possession switches. But we see RJP hoping to keep timeout away, coming out on offense. Coming out of a little bit of a horizontal stack with 3 handlers. We see one of the handlers slashing upfield, but Hucks seemingly doing a bit of a zone or a little bit of a handler sag. You can see one player standing quite deep and then RJP kind of having to being forced to play in the small spaces. A little bit of a bump, but no issues. As we see this zone look, the mullet there, as we call it, in the middle with the cap. Play is continuing. I think there was potentially a little bit of a bump between 2 of the players there, but seemingly not much of an issue, just a miscommunication as to whether it was a stoppage or not. Retracted. RJP now on offense after a tap in. It's a good zone from Hucks. It's containing them, but RJP able to find a very free player, but they just throw it backwards too low, and you can see the frustration about that mis-execution. It happens, but not in those moments you don't want it to happen. Hucks now, opportunity to break, working it through the handlers. Beautiful backhand up the line. Looks back into the middle. Will they take the swing? They take the swing. Back into the middle. Back into the sideline. Fakes the IO. Capitalizes on all that open space. There's 2 players there, but one player gets ahead first, into the middle. Looking to lead a player into the end zone. There is multiple people cutting at the same time, so they take it backwards. Hucks probably want to be seeing a little bit more cleanness from their end zone. It's a little bit all over the place. Not really sure who's isolated or where they're going. Still struggling. But a turnover has occurred, which means that RJP still trying to get their offensive hold. As we see a slow walk, the players trying to get into position. Hucks still out with this zone. As the player very deep here, as you can see on the camera. But they don't want to throw it because I believe it's a gender mismatch downfield. So sometimes that is something that you don't want to exploit too badly. But a timeout has been called, and there are no surprises there. Quite a long point at 5-4. RJP really hoping to take it to 5-5 to kind of keep this game within touching distance. But in that quick half time, we're going to take a quick half time and we'll be back with you really soon. Welcome back to the European Masters Ultimate Club Championships. I'm Amelia Durbin and we are watching Hucks Ultimate Club versus RJP in the mixed division. It is 5-4 in Hucks' favour with RJP coming out on offence. It's been a really long point and RJP did call a timeout after quite a long passage of play, quite a few turnovers. So it'd be interesting to see when this point is over how long it did actually go on for, as we see teams trying to get into position now ahead of RJP's offensive campaign. So we see the disc about to be tapped in. See a big fake, lovely high release backhand, but the player is on the floor. Little bit of a bump. But after a slap of hands, the foul is uncontested. Just a stoppage to make sure that everyone is okay, and they seemingly are, so RJP probably thankful for a timeout and then a couple of breaths back again even after that. It's been a long point. Another high release, but it's too far and it's out the pitch. I think I'll be disappointed with that. It's difficult to use a timeout when you have the disc on offense and then to potentially get broken. Bit of a burn, as we call it. But Hucks have got a long way to go. You see the cuts being generated through kind of almost cutting deep and then cutting under. There's a very free player there, but they don't want it. They want the spicy hammer over the top. Male matching players playing through the middle. As we see the vert stack come, but a foul has been called, I believe, on the mark. Bit of a discussion. Foul contested, it seems. A good chat, maybe went on for a little bit too long, but disc is back in. Hucks with their opportunity to break over the top and into the end zone, and there is the D from RJP. This game is getting closer and closer. The turnovers are coming. RJP hoping, probably wishing that they had a timeout left, but they don't. And RJP, beautiful IO shot through the middle, a brilliant gainer, but now stuck, but able to get a release valve, and just a turnover. You can almost see the build-up of lactic acid in the receiver's legs. They're just so tired from a really, really long, sloggy point. Hucks now looking for their break chance. Throwing through the middle, over the top, and it is caught, and that is a Hucks break after a really, really long period of play. 9 minutes 10 that went on for. That was Me Fan with the assist, and Nina Bruns with the fantastic high grab. You could see her player in the background kind of sneaking up on them, trying to think that if they didn't get it, they could, but 93 Sheriff Bruns was like, nope, I'll have that one. We're 23 minutes 50 into this game, and the score is now 6-4 in the Hucks' favour. So I would not be surprised if we do see a timeout, a half-time timeout being called, which is when the disc, when the time gets to 35 minutes, a timeout is called, just to let people have a break and also make sure that the sides are being switched. Just see a disc from the other pitch coming in there, so they'll probably take that out before we get underway. It must be really, really warm out there. I have a lot of empathy for these players. Playing under hot conditions is really, really difficult, especially when the points are long. But RJP hoping to, again, keep this game within touching distance. They are now 2 breaks down, which in the grand scheme of things isn't very much. It's very easy to get those 2 breaks back over a period of a game. But we see Hucks applying quite a lot of pressure, which is kind of stagnating the RJP offense. They're being pushed backwards as we see the individual with the disc take off their hat, and it's a high disc that is well caught. And a lofty backhand over the top. Looking back inside, takes the disc away, but then gives it to them. Edged up flick through the middle. This zone look from Hucks clearly being effective. RJP player does go down, but does not get it, which means Hucks another opportunity to break here. Swinging to the middle of the pitch. Lovely throw, getting it back. That's a fantastic passage of ultimate. Down the open side, the goal potentially could be there. Finds the receiver. A little bit of a missed time on that, attacking the front of the end zone. Throws it into space. Is it too far? It is too far. See the player really reaching to the ground there. Maybe a bid required, but didn't want to. Trusted that they could run onto it, but it dropped very, very quickly. So potentially another long point we've got ourselves here. RJP slowly walking to the disc to hope to get the disc in their end zone with the score. The zone from Hucks is clearly stopping, well, any Hucks. It's kind of quite a small style of ultimate, and an immediate hand block from Hucks there, using the wingspan. Looking a little bit lost for options. Being surrounded, but finds a release valve. To this middle side, gets it straight back. Good end zone flow. The continuation is not there, but it is now, and there is the goal. A little bit of a squeaky squeak at the front of that end zone, not necessarily the cleanest of options, but they took it all the same. And that takes us to 7-4. So Torben Koop with a little assist to Tommy Rudert. Little boop boop through the middle. Hucks now 1 point away from potentially taking half, 8-4. The time is 36 minutes 20. So it will be half, or I believe the half timeout will be called. I believe it is now half time. So as it is half time, I will be right back with you very, very shortly, but there's a lot more ultimate coming your way. Welcome back to the Masters Ultimate Club Championships, the European Masters Ultimate Club Championships, should I say, in Vienna. We are watching the mixed division, Hucks versus RJP. Hucks currently up 7-4, and it was just half time. So I believe that Hucks will be coming out on, let me just check for you. Hucks are coming out on offense. We did have a forced half-time, which meant that the time passed 35 minutes ahead of them getting to the all-important score of 8. So the teams have switched sides even a little bit early. So the score is 7-4, and it will be either 8-4 or 7-5. So we see Hucks raise their hands, signalling that they're ready to receive the disc. RJP throwing the disc towards them, and we are in play. A pretty straightforward pull, flat and straight to the middle. Hucks distributing. Low pickup. And there is the Hucks. Hucks by name, Hucks by nature. RJP try, but that is a fantastic throw and a fantastic reception under some pressure. Patricia Adair there able to kind of get a better read on it, with Alexander Sept able to distribute that. Brilliant throw. Hucks will be pleased with that. Coming out of half time like that with a really dominating offensive look can kind of put your opponents on the back foot, because you're showing your strength even after a little pause. So let's see how RJP can respond, whether they are able to follow up with something equally as dominant, or whether they will take a little bit of a breath and try and do something a bit slower. You see some clouds in the background, so hopefully the temperature is cooling down for the players. Did get up to about 33 degrees today. However, it is telling me, my Google is telling me that temperatures potentially are now in the 34s, but even though there is a little bit of cloud cover, it's very humid. A low UV though, so at least players not having to be too worried about making sure that their sun's safe, because the UV is not as high as when it's in the red, only a 1. But disc is now in the air, and RJP hoping to get an offensive hold here before the game starts to get away from them. Looking backfield. Received onto that far side. This zone from Hucks being really effective. Quite an interesting looking zone. It's almost like a cup, but a really loose one. RJP just trusting that they can work it through, but unfortunately they can't, and it is a turnover. Hucks with a break opportunity now. Disc is tapped in. Is it too far? It is too far. Oh, a foul being called by the thrower, I believe. Bit of a miscommunication potentially on who the foul is. I believe, actually, no, it is on the receiver. The foul's contested. A very quick conversation there, but both players clearly not willing to come to an agreement. I'm not sure myself on the foul. You did see that the Hucks player did potentially trip or take a bit of a step that didn't look as natural as running, and whether that was made by the RJP initiating contact, we don't know. But we see Hucks now on offense still. A much better throw to that flick side, jinking back to get the disc. Looks off the break side continuation, needs an option, finds it. A fast one. And that is a cool look, but unfortunately not cool enough, because that is a turnover. Disc just dies immediately, and the receiver doesn't even have a chance. RJP now looking a little bit stuck in this zone, but nope. Zipper one through the middle, using the sideline. Dishing it back now into the hands of a handler. Distributing it through the middle, sweeping fakes with the disc in hand. Little one-handed snag. Lovely little shot through the middle. And lovely little shot through the middle. Hucks need to neaten up this middle space because that is exactly where the disc is going every time. Looking backfield. Oh, nearly a touch on the disc there. Straight through the middle again. I think this is the weakest point in the Hucks zone, is the middle is not well protected. The handlers are doing a good job of protecting their player getting the disc, because we see the hammer being faked multiple times. Are they going to do it? They're not. There is a very free player potentially in the end zone, but they don't know how to hit them in a safe way, so they dish a little kind of dad backhand through the middle, right on the front of their end zone. Again, another little dish one backwards. Not a lot of options opening up downfield for RJP. They're sort of relying on the static spaces being the place to hit. You can't, not many big cuts happening. He's frustrated, signalling that there needs to be options and a little bit more structure. Lovely little scuba fake. Straight back, pointy toes. Very pirouette-y style. Straight through the middle. And there is a goal pending potentially, but where it's going to be, I don't know. Hucks are now surrounding, but great composure and straight into the hands of Hucks. The RJP player was free at the back of that end zone, but there was a lot of players in the middle, and that is the problem with standing in the line of throwing over the line of cutters. This is proving to be another long point. Hucks doing a little bit of a flood play, and another hand block. That's 2 for 2. We've had one throw hand blocked, another block hand block. So RJP now into the middle. Again, just not many options, but there is the goal. Some quick movement, and that is the goal for RJP. I believe that is just a hold, which takes us to 8-5. Poznanski with the goal there. Quite a long point, that one, 5 minutes 20, which when you compare it earlier to the 9 minute 10 point, it's nearly half the time, but you could feel the fatigue coming from these players, especially after a long morning and a long afternoon of playing in the sun. It's probably starting to grind on them just a little bit. But Hucks up 8-5. Got about 25 minutes left of this game, so very, very, very much all still to play for both teams. The game has not been taken away from anyone yet. And there goes the whistle, which means play will be underway. As we see a female matching puller throw the disc perfectly down the field, caught inbound just ahead of the brick mark. Hucks dish it back and forth to each other, and are now swinging laterally over the top. Beautiful continuation down that sideline. Thought they were going to go for the Huck there, that they didn't. Hucks looking confident. Beautiful shape to that break throw there. And a fantastic IO throw through the middle, as soft as you like. And there is the goal. What a fantastic grab from the German side. Angelina Kobb with the goal. Spielberg with the assist. Maybe put it a little bit high for them, but Angelina Kobb says, no, I can do that. I'll catch that just fine. A fantastic, fantastic athletic showing, getting up high, catching the disc with one hand. And that takes us to 9-5 in this pool game. In the mixed pools, there are only 3 teams, and with Hucks already having a win and Marmota having a loss, I believe that means that Hucks have won this pool regardless. So this is just to kind of feel it out. get a game on the board. Mamota, if they beat Hucks, it'll be a tie between them and RJP. Sorry, RJP and Mamota. If RJP win, it'll be a tie between them. But if RJP are unfortunate in losing this game, it will put them at the bottom of the pool. Going around the fields at the moment, we've got PUC, Puck versus AUC in the mixed division. It's 6-10 in AU's favour. We've also got B-Fire and Zoo 6-6. But over here, 9-5 to Hucks with RJP on offense. This zone from Hucks being really effective of kind of forcing RJP to take lots of tiny, small options, which is going to run their legs into the ground. And as we mentioned, they are working through a slightly smaller roster. So smart planning from the Hucks coaches and captains to decide that that's what they're going to do. RJP now looking for another option and just slices one over through the middle. They're doing a fantastic job of moving the disc even up against this zone and being really, really patient. Bit of a gender mismatch, able to receive it, looking backfield. And swinging into the middle. Hucks seemingly wanting to stay in this zone wherever they are. Straight through the middle and too far. Hucks now up to the races. Big Huck going up. Is it going to stay in bounds or is it cycling out? It's just out. And you can see that from the way they released it. If there is any wind, it is pushing away from the camera, so away towards those other pitches. And if you show the disc, the belly of the disc to any part of the wind, it's going to carry it, and that's what happened there. If I think it was a slightly less windy, even though it's not very windy, that would have stayed in, but just a little bit too far. As we see RJP back on offense now. Huck staying in this zone, RJP patient. Ooh, Huck so close. Jumping up, fingertips on the disc. RJP looking backfield, moving through the handlers, very free. Love that little kind of pop over the top. Huck still confident in staying in this zone. RJP pushing it, that was low. Need to regain their focus, try and maintain focus here. They really need to get this hold. Great defensive pressure from Hucks. Brilliant grab from RJP. Beautiful throw. They knew exactly where they wanted it. RJP getting ever closer, looking really good. Backfield. Straight back through the middle. To the far sideline, straight back. They're so good at that. And there is the goal for RJP. That is 9-6 in this mixed pool game. Rabba Prisbailak just waiting in the end zone there for the disc to be given to them. Sort of sneaking undefended, and Bozanski did a really good job of spotting them out the corner of their eye. I'm thinking, I'm going to hit them as soon as I get the opportunity, and that is exactly what they did. So a credit to the RJP there. Really, really impressive. So we're at 9-6. This game is very much in touching distance for RJP, and they're going to want to try and get some breaks back. Timings wise, there's still 20 minutes left on the clock, which does gives them more than enough time to bring it closer. The wind is definitely starting to pick up. We can hear it in the camera audio. However, I don't think the trees in the distance are suggesting that it's anything worth worrying about. But RJP now on defense, throwing a really good looking pull down towards the German side. It's enter the pass and give it right back. Isolated player, their defender not quite there yet. looking for an option. Stall count's going to be getting high, but manages to find a release valve. Oh, fakes the huck. Not convincing enough because you can see them almost look at the floor. Beautiful weighted throw into the middle and a really aggressive kind of bounce cut, but oh, straight into the blocking hands of the RJP player. I'm not sure whether they knew that was coming their way, but a block's a block. RJP now then hoping to get a break. Disc down by the sideline of the player. Oh, Hucks were lucky there, a little bit of a stumble on trying to get the D. RJP disc back into the middle. Not a free option available currently, but a beautiful eye, but straight into the hands of the receiver who are just able to step in front. Hucks now on offense. Both teams probably going to want to be neatening up the way that they're playing. It's starting to get a little bit scrappy as the points go on. Seen some fantastic clean offense from both sides, but not seeing that in this point. Hucks now looking a bit lost, but able to find someone and able to really push up field afterwards. That's clearly a move that they train, that immediate give and go and then go and get it back, and it's really effective for them. Not an option available, and there's two. Looking back field again. It's almost a little bit hexy in the way that they're playing and always looking backfield or looking middle. It's very impressive to see the flow happening as it goes, because it's clearly proving difficult for RJP to defend against, and that is just an easy score. Beautiful throw, lots of touch, lots of patience from RJP. Ben Thomas to Kim Getsen. We've mentioned that name a lot. The 64 shirt of Kim Getsen earning many stats in this game. As I believe that is their 5th stat, which again for 10, 50%, that's not bad really, is it? You wouldn't complain if that was you. So Hucks are now 10-6 up. The game isn't over yet. I think that RJP clearly showing some fire in their bellies. Lots of time on the clock as well. 15 minutes exactly before that 70-minute time allowance is over. Be interesting to see if we get to 15. Or whether RJP can put a stint in it and try and contain this. And we are in. RJP, an opportunity here to score, to make it 10-7. Swinging just laterally at the moment, not making a lot of ground forward. And a turnover, unfortunately. Hucks, an opportunity now. Very close to the end zone, and it's a foul is called, I believe. Something's happened. A pick. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened in the end zone there. But I believe Hucks do still have the disc. Hucks now very close to the front of their end zone line. Coming out of a vert stack over the top, and there is the goal. That makes it 11-6 in Hucks' favour. Lisa Ryder with the goal. Alexander Sebke with the assist. Hucks are starting to kind of go into that 6th gear and start to accelerate away from this game. With only 13 minutes left on the clock, we would need to see RJP go on a 7 7-break run to just get ahead of Hucks, which is when you say it like that, you realise it is quite a hard task. We've seen teams go up very, very early in games because they have managed to break over and over and over again. But for RJP right now, they need to get a score in so they can send their D-line out to try and get a break. As we see the disc going up. Bit of a short one that time, not the best one we've seen, just close to this camera here. RJP now into the middle, straight through the zone. Hucks really committing to this zone, and it has worked well for them. RJP happy to go back and forth, leading a player down the sideline. That's a beautiful find. Confident enough to go backwards, almost the super dump-esque. Not many people of the RJP team are in the end zone currently, all stood just ahead of it, and that is a beautiful high release backhand over the top. That was fantastic. And that is the all-important hold from Monika Zalskwa to Karablinsky. That takes us to 11-7, so this could potentially be the start of the break train that RJP really desperately need. Only about 10 minutes left on the clock, so it's a really, really hard ask, and I'm not sure it's going to be possible, but hopefully they can bring this game back closer into a place where they'll feel a little bit happier. But Hucks have showcased some real dominance in this game, maybe just a little bit more polished than the RJP side, but both teams doing really, really well. I think both teams can be proud of the way that they've been playing, and there is plenty more of tournament left after this game is over. You see, we're just waiting for the teams to get underway. Bit of a slow start, but here is the pull. Just going up to the Hucks side. Well caught comfortably. You can hear the clap catches, the favoured way for most people to play to catch, and Hucks really moving with dominance. They've gotten down. Oh, and there's the D. You didn't hear a lot of a sideline screaming in celebration. There's not many of them to get hyped, but that was a brilliant heads-up D. An assertive slap to the floor, and this could potentially, as I said, be the start of the break train. RJP, beautiful throw through the middle. Receiver has to get up big to catch it, but does so comfortably. Backfield again. Beautiful flick throw with a lot of touch and a lot of time to get there. Straight downfield. Oh, and just too far. Maybe a bit of a miscommunication as to where that disc needed to go. Hucks, another opportunity to get a break in. Backfield. Far sideline. Once the middle gets it. Into the backside. In now onto this close sideline. Beautiful little flick throw. Is the continuation there? It is. The down the line strike. No Huck, but a good change of direction. Hucks are doing so well moving the disc here. I'm not sure what this call is. A foul uncontested potentially. I think that's what the hand signals are saying. Not sure on who. But Hucks now, little button hook round the back. Beautiful gainer. Receives the disc back straight away. There is a cut to the front cone. Beautiful sitting little backhand roll curve. And there is the goal. Easy enough with a little flair on the celebration. That's 12-7 for this Huck side. Nina Bruns received that disc from Jen Spielberg. And this is a little bit of a dominant play from Hucks. They are really showcasing a level of expertness, pushing the disc all over the field, using high releases, low releases, IOs, roll curves. They've clearly got really, really experienced players, and you can see them being able to flex their muscles in this game for you today. 62 minutes gone, so about 62 minutes 40 to be exact, so roughly 7 minutes left. I think potentially Hucks have won this, and I think RJP probably know that too, but it's now what Hucks can do to assert even more dominance, or what RJP can do to try and make their Hucks lives even harder for themselves. RJP have been a fantastic opponent. You can see that they've really put on a lot of pressure. So I think both teams will be really pleased with this fantastic game of Ultimate that they've got to play. RJP moving the disc pretty comfortably. There's a free player in the middle. Straight back. And there is the Huck. A beautiful IO flick through the middle. That was absolutely pitch perfect. You see the frustration from the number 19 shirt there. Just kind of throws their cap in despair. But that is the clean hold from RJP, Gerhard Klein and Tomsky with the assist and the score retrospectively. Really, really confident showing from those two players there. That's something they thought up and wanted to do. But it is just a hold. 12-8 to Hucks' favour. 64 minutes 35 passed on the clock. The time is ticking down, so Hucks are going to want to be putting this disc in very easily and get their D-line back out there, or they might look to potentially take their time and do the controversial thing of working down the clock, which is when you know there's not a lot of time left and you've got the advantage. Some teams like to play a little bit more conservatively. It's not necessarily a guaranteed strategy. It's quite high risk. The more passes you have, the more turnovers that you're allowing yourself to potentially have. However, it means that you are burning down the clock. So we'll see what happens here. RJP out on defense as we see the hand going up and the disc being launched into the air. Straight down the middle. Hucks just dishing back and forth to one another through the middle into the IO space. Catches it. Brilliant cut, but I do believe a pick has been called. I'm not sure where it has been called, but they were very free. So we'll see if the disc goes back or stays into the hands of the Hucks player. Little self-check, so disc is now in. A big backhand and a high grab, but takes it in nicely. And there is the goal. Hucks with the clean offensive hold to take them to 13-8. Angelina Cobb with the goal and Rubadert with the assist. Just about 4 minutes left. RJP going to be hoping again to get a quick turn on the Huck side. See a disc just rolling onto the pitch there from the people warming up next door. The wind definitely picking up now. You can really hear it in the camera, so it'll be interesting to see if this zone comes out from the Hucks side. And there is the pull going up towards the RJP players. It's caught and distributed. Just looking like a match look for Hucks. Just opting to trust their match defense. Oh, fantastic grab. Over the top and another brilliant grab. And there is the Huck, and it's just tapped, and it is tapped too far. RJP nearly had a second look, but Huck's able to say nope, and they are off to the races now. I see the deep strike going, but not able to wind up to get it. Cutting themselves off our Hucks a little bit. Kind of gesturing to make space, and they seemingly inflow a little bit better now. Back to, and there is the timeout. I'm not surprised to see that, I'll be honest, with this not much time left on the clock. It's 13-8 to the German side, Hucks, and with that timeout, we are just going to take a short timeout and be back with you very, very soon. Welcome back to the European Masters Ultimate Club Championships. We are here watching Hucks versus RJP in the mixed division. Hucks are currently up 13-8 and do currently have the disc to potentially break to take it to 14-8. As we hear the start play call being given and Hucks about to bring the disc in. Seeing both sides in position and the disc being counted in a 3, 2, 1 signal, and the disc is in. Immediate IO, straight back. Straight back, they're so good at this. Beautiful throwing and going and kind of capitalizing on the space. They see them go up the line, they don't want it, and someone fills in instantly, but just a drop. Straight out the hands, and you can see by the kind of sudden pause in their body language that they are frustrated, and rightly so. Almost like they had too much momentum carrying them forward. RJP now into the middle with a good leading pass. Straight down the sideline, and there is the Huck, and it is just too far for the RJP receiver. They probably had a touch on it, but maybe just a little bit too fast to be able to grab their hand around it, as we see Hucks watering the disc in. So time has been called as over, which I believe means this is the last point, which means that Hucks have taken the win. But let's see what they can do, whether they end on a score or whether they end on an RJP score. So we see Hucks just really dominating, kind of throwing it up the pitch. The player there doing an amazing job of doing everything, and there is the goal, throwing the assist. And I'm not surprised that they're celebrating that. That was brilliant. That was Florian Aufort with the goal, with the assist, sorry, to Sept for the assist. That was fantastic. Aufort showcasing some real class. I don't believe that is the game, actually, my apologies. It is 14-8 to Hucks, but the time is over potentially means it's to play through the next point, and then this would be the last what happens. It might also be a game to 15. There you hear it, game to 15. as I wasn't sure, we had a beautiful volunteer scream it, so now we know. So game to 15, Hucks just within one, a long way to go for RJP. Be curious to see here whether they fight it out to the very end, or whether Hucks were able to get a quick break and put this game to bed. So we see the disc going up now, flying straight, a little bit short. RJP not comfortable catching it. So we see into that backside, a little bit of a touch, but doesn't get it, and it is a turnover. RJP just having a little bit of lapse of concentration, disc going out just a little bit too far for the receiver, and Hucks got an opportunity now to take this win, 15-8. We see them stuck on the sideline, but able to take a fantastic throw down the sideline. And there is the goal. That is 15-8 to the German side of Hucks Ultimate Club Berlin, with Torben Koop taking the final goal. Both teams having a really good game. I think Hucks just showing a little bit more kind of diversity in their play. Their zone was really effective. The way that their offense moved was picture poetry. It was beautiful. I think RJP just kind of getting beaten a few too times. They put themselves in quite a big deficit in the middle. The game went from 5-4 to 8-4 in a matter of minutes, and I think that is potentially where this game ended for them. However, a really brilliant side, and there's lots of frisbee left to go for these two teams. They will now go into the crossover section of this tournament, and then they'll move from there on to bracket play. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've been Amelia Durbin, and this has been the European Masters Ultimate Club Championships, and there's lots more frisbee coming your way this weekend, so keep your eyes and ears open on our socials, and we will see you very soon.